Well, I had my doubts about Donald Trump for a long time, but now I'm fully convinced he's legit. And part of the reason I had doubts was because him and Bill Clinton were buddy, 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 like for a real long time. And I was thinking, how could he be so friendly with this guy? I mean, a lot. And well, they had a common interest was the ladies, like Cycle Tramp. She was road trash, living for kicks. Bill. That's one area that Bill and Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, they agree on, but that's about it. So that threw me for a curveball. And I do know that Trump is, he's a salesman, a wheeler dealer, and it's not perfect, but he is legit, and I'm convinced of it now. And now that I'm convinced of it, I am thinking that, well, they have been going after him left and right, and so far they haven't been successful. I know the new Democratic Congress is in now, but not the House of Representatives, not the entire Congress, not the Senate. But the thing is, I'm looking at what the Federal Reserve is doing, and there's a lot of areas of the economy that are controlled by people that aren't the president. Yeah, I know the economy is supposed to be controlled by, investments from corporations and individuals and, entrepreneurs that are real go-getters, but the reality of it is booms and busts are created by the banking cartel called the Federal Reserve, right? And the Federal Reserve does look like they're, raising interest rates. Well, that doesn't look like it. They are. They are raising their interest rates, and they're bringing down, the stock markets, right? So this is one way they're going to try to get rid of them, through the economy. And obviously, he is going up against a lot of stuff, man. It's like ridiculous. It's really bad. Now, I do want to point out something here because we haven't visited this, or at least I don't know. I know like when silver was going up and it looked like, it's going to the moon, and I don't know where the hell it was going to. I guessed some of it right, and some of it I didn't, but way back when. But if you look at the real price of silver, it really should be about, it should be hundreds of dollars. Historically, today it should be hundreds of dollars. I mean, at least, at a minimum, like 70, 75 bucks, right? Now, you're looking all the way back. This chart goes back to like 1300 and something. It goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. The only time silver really got clobbered was in modern times, especially since we went off the gold standard. So, I think this, I know it's been a long wait. It's actually been a decades-long wait, really, in reality. But, it's probably going to change. But I personally do think, though, besides all this stuff with the charts and, what it should be and what it isn't, though, is the medical uses for silver, I think, is what's going to really drive it up. And people start figuring out it's not just antimicrobial, but it can help the body increase stem cells. Remember I don't know if I said this on other videos, but it was Dr. Robert Otto Becker, a medical doctor. He was running experiments trying to regenerate tissue and growing limbs back on rats. Limbs, a severed limb. And he used to use microelectricity he tried it with a platinum electrode, very, very, very low microelectricity current. And he used the silver. And the silver electrode caused the limb on a rat where it was severed to come back and grow the bone and the muscle and the fur and everything. Just started growing back. And later on, he figured out what it was really, why it was doing it. It was the ions that were being produced right at the point where the damage was that was causing the body to produce stem cells in the amount needed to regenerate tissue. Just like, like a lobster would do or something, Just grew back, their new claw or something. It's like people could do this too, probably, if they're aided with the right technology. But Dr. Robert Otto Becker, who did these experiments back in the 1970s, using microelectricity and silver, it was defunded. But, it tells you something like, when people hear about these cloning things, the conspiracy web, hey, if he was doing that back in the 70s, could you imagine what the U.S. military knows, right? But anyway, as we're swimming through the quagmire of, the depths of financial swamp, and that's really what Trump is dealing with, It's so screwed up that I don't really think this guy can do everything. You know what's dangerous too is if you have one individual that can fix everything, all you need is one individual to screw everything else up. That's why you shouldn't have the president having that much power. We went way off course when the war was lost between the states. That just put all the central power into the federal government and the president. And it's been getting worse and worse and worse. It's been a slow slide, but, you know, it's good we got Donald Trump, but it's bad that we got to focus in on one leader to fix everything. The government should have that kind of power. That's one of the problems. Now, I think Trump is really up against a lot of freaking evil. And, we always hear about George Soros, the puppet master, curtains up. But, Soros, I'll tell you, he's like the focal point everybody hears about. Hey, George Soros this, George Soros that. But obviously, this guy's not he's an old geezer, He's not that smart. I mean, he's smart, but he's not that smart. Nobody's that smart. You don't beat, if you're playing the markets, I forgot, there was a guy back in the 1920s. He was so damn good. He even won out when the 1929 crash. Eventually he went broke, though, in the 1930s. I forgot the guy's name. He was a very, very, very famous investor. Filthy rich. But the thing is, the ones that always win, decades and decades and decades in and out, they are the ones that have inside information. And it's coming from, the government, certain people in the government, because they know what policies are going to happen before they're made. They know what they're doing in these committees. They know insiders in the upper banking institute. That's Soros, He's not acting alone. No way in hell. Like in 2001, he made out good on the airline thing. He made out good on the oil spill in 2010, in the Gulf. He made out really good, BP, right? I don't want to say too much because YouTube don't like that. But I can tell you a lot of stuff, but I can't on here, okay? He made out really good on Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And he just recently he just sold Facebook, what the hell was the other ones? Goldman Sachs and Netflix right before they had the big crash here like a week ago. Just before they crashed, he dumped them all. He was heavily invested in them and then he got rid of them. That ain't luck. He knows what the hell's going on. He's Darth Vader's telling him what's going on. Or somebody. I mean, the swamp is. Well, let's use the Darth Vader, the swamp, whatever the hell it is. But, obviously, you're not going to actually figure out exactly who the hell it is. But, first off, in government policies can make things go one way or the other. Like, in other words, if they're going to pass a tariff on something that's going to affect somebody's company, it's going to wipe out, it's going to really affect your stocks one way or the other, right? If you know that law is going to be law and it's going to pass before it happens, you could bet accordingly, right? That's how some people always win. Plus, if you know what the Federal Reserve is going to do ahead of time, you're always going to win. That's why I'm saying Soros is it's not just him. There's a lot of stuff going on. But he's the guy you see out there in front, So the swamp guy, Darth Vader, is telling him what's going on. But in the meantime, we're all just cruising along here waiting for freaking, the manna to fall from heaven in the markets. But let me say that I think that the markets, the equities, are going to go down severely in the next 2 years. I mean, they've been overdue. I mean, I know even George Soros screwed up a bet on this. He didn't have just a hedge where he was hedging that it might go down. He was putting a major bet that they would go down. He lost a lot of money on that. I mean, obviously not everybody freaking tells him what's going on exactly right. But it is overdue. We're at like 10 years on a short cycle for the stock markets where it should be done. 7 to 10 years is like 10 years is like max in a short-term cycle. But we also got the 60-something year, 60, 70-year cycle where we should be coming into a Great Depression, which happens about every 65, 70 years or whatever. And I'm not putting doom and gloom out here, but I'm just telling you that's probably what's going to happen. But that's actually manna from heaven for anybody invested in hard assets, precious metals and stuff. Mining stocks, maybe, I don't know. But in the meantime, most people don't really care, like old girl here is like, just drink this stuff up. But that's the way things are. Most people will not think ahead until it hits them right square between the eyes and say, hey, look what happened. And then they say, oh, we should have done this. We should have done that. Actually, the people that are, what'd they say, like the rabbit and the tortoise. The tortoise was building a house, and he was getting all ready for winter time, and he was getting everything done and storing up food, and he had logs for the fireplace. And the rabbit's like, yeah, that's a bunch of garbage, He goes, what happened later on? Winter came, the rabbit's out there starving. Well, you guys that are out there, prepping, doing things like that, whatever, besides, the silver thing, well, you're doing the right type of stuff. Most people aren't. Most people aren't. Even if you just do a little bit, you're still doing okay. Now, old girl here with the blonde, with the bottle, I would invite her into my hooch, if she's starving, no problem. But, this would be my hooch, too, underground. Now, if I stay here in Florida as the main base, this might be the setup. We got a lot of sand down here, so you could dig this pretty easy. After I was digging that hole for the flagpole, I started thinking, hey, I could dig a hole pretty damn deep in here and just have an underground place. If they blow up Florida, I can, put a new Confederate flag up there and fly it. Anyway, after things are radioactive, whatever. But, this is another thing you might want to do besides silver, right? Provided you could dig into the soil. So, anyway, what's going to happen? I don't really know for 100% sure because, nobody does. And anybody says that, even if they throw out a bunch of charts. But it's pretty obvious that Trump's got a lot of enemies. And it pretty much, the quickest way to freaking knock somebody out of the, the next election cycle in 2020 is to wreck the economy. I know Trump wants to, he's doing everything he can, but the Federal Reserve is actually bigger than he is. And there's a lot of other things going on that are bigger than he is, too. So he actually does provide a lot of psychological comfort and positive attitude for the country, though. But, there's a lot of things going on where they're trying to create as much strife in the country, too, so people don't feel good about the future. Because if you don't feel good about the future, that affects how people spend and what they do in the economy. You feel good about the future, they spend more, and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Trump is actually a positive influence in that way, big time. And here's some Rebel Confederate silver. Actually, if you ever buy any silver, I forget where they sold these, but you can find them on the internet someplace. These are kind of cool, if you're into that type of stuff. If you figure, even if you just want to get one of these and you don't invest much, you just get a couple of these things. It's got the flag on it, right? George Soros buying America. I'll tell you the truth, this guy, I really don't think a lot of these people on a very, very top, like Warren Buffett himself, I forget what I read many years ago, but he did have inside information on a lot of stuff. And actually, during the time in 2008, 2009, actually, when we had the, near cataclysmic implosion of the money markets, and they had to do all the bailouts for, AIG and, the Troubled Asset Relief Program for the banks and shore up the banking system. Warren Buffett was all for those bailouts. Now, I'm showing Soros here, but, I'm saying they're really all the same. They do not, they're smart, but they're not that freaking smart because they virtually win practically all the time. That's what I'm talking about. Warren Buffett, he would have really had his butt handed to him if the bailouts didn't pass through the Congress. I mean, he would not be broke, but he would have lost probably half his wealth. That would have been, ouch, big time, man. So, I'm going to tell you, I'm just saying that these people are very much connected. Now, one of the things you could do is just get out there and get away from it all, I personally, I'm on a fence between staying in north central Florida and going up to northeastern Tennessee instead, but one other side I'm thinking about northeastern Tennessee. It's going to be cold as hell because the mini ice age is coming. Already hearing about New York City had a snowstorm about 10 days ago. It was in November, and 2018, if you're looking at this later, and mid-November. It was like the biggest snow they had in 140 years. This includes like Pennsylvania. Chicago had some crazy records, and there was some stuff in New England. I'm thinking, wow, it's already starting. It's not going to bottom out to 2050. So Tennessee's going to be a damn cold place up there, even though it's more south. But I'd be up in the mountains up there. So I am not 110% sure about going up there full time. So kind of just waiting and see, just like old girl here with the cigarette. But if you look at things the way things are going, there is a big push to knock out the tenets that the country, the United States, has been founded upon, which is limited government and stuff like that. And I also have to say that really these tenets of limited government came from Southerners, Virginians and stuff. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington and stuff. Most of the time. And basically these tenets of limited government really, which is where the Congress is the ones that issue the money, not the Federal Reserve or the cartel of banks and stuff, which is really the whole point of why, one of the main points of why people actually investing in silver, they're opting out of the system, of the current electronic financial system. And actually it's current electronic financial manipulation that's keeping the price down, because you saw that chart going back over 600 years. So we are kind of like the rebels, basically the financial rebels. I looked at this image of the rebels in Australia with the Confederate flag and the Confederate soldier skull with the keepy. It kind of reminded me of the SCVMC, which is not a club, by the way. It's a mechanized cavalry. That's very slick. MC is not motorcycle club, it's mechanized cavalry. But it kind of reminded me of that. Anyway. But in the long run, everything's going to be all right, because I think that, well, first off, usually the shrewd, you got to watch. It's good to be shrewd. You want to be shrewd. But sometimes the shrewd out-shrewd themselves. I've noticed this. And sometimes you can be very, very, very smart, but you lack what I call common sense. It's sort of like Dilbert sitting at his desk, messing around with scientific formulas, and a big grizzly bear comes in through the door and bites him, I mean, you're not watching your back, right? I mean, you might know all this stuff about science, but you forgot about locking the door because a big grizzly bear came in and bit you on the head or something. That type of stuff. And that's really the problem with the quote-unquote elite. They're so immersed in all this other garbage that they think they know it all, but they don't. They don't know everything. So, and I'm going to say that, if you look back in I'm just going to throw this in here. If you look back at human history, it's, I don't want to say this too much, because the world is a strange place, man. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's like a lot of stuff that we've been taught in school, or what they left out of school, is not exactly how everything evolved on Earth, If you look back at ancient Sumerian history, and I know maybe the ancient Sumerians might have been smoking some kind of wacky weed when they wrote this stuff down, but they said we were created by, what do you call these? I don't want to say aliens, but, no, I guess they would be. We kind of like souped up humans, real souped up humans. People that live, they kind of look like us, but they live hundreds of thousands of years. They're advanced intelligence, advanced technology. And they took some of their DNA and they threw it in life forms down here, and they made the humans. Now, one thing they said, which might be too controversial for I don't know. This is what the Sumerians said. They said that the white Caucasian people, especially the ones with blue eyes and all that kind of crap, they got more of that DNA, like we're aliens or some shit. That might be true because I don't know why the hell the white people freaking did a lot of crazy shit that freaking developed and stuff in the world. That's for sure. And not this chick, but she's hot, so whatever. But you know, the thing is, um, you know, a lot of times, you know, people looking at religion and they're saying, "Oh, the world's so screwed up, and no, it's going to get fixed because the rapture is going to happen." And I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Or Jesus is going to come back and fix everything. And I'm like, maybe, maybe not. You know what I mean? Sometimes I look at that stuff. I'm kind of throwing this on the end here. I look at that stuff and I'm looking at it like there's a flip side to religion. It could be good and bad. The bad side to it is, for you, the people, is that it's a way to control you. Or it's a way to give you hope so you don't fight back against the bullcrap. You understand? See what I'm saying? You know, you're thinking, well, it's all going to come out good in the end. Well, if you don't do nothing, it probably isn't good. It's not going to come out good in the end, okay? So, like, you know, I do believe that there are certain truths and tenets. And, you know, if you get down to the religion side, I always think of him as Rabbi Jesus. You know, Rabbi, that's a Rabbi Jesus, a great teacher and healer. And you should listen to everything he said, but I don't go past that. And I don't like George Soros, okay? So I don't go saying that. But again, you know, I want to interject this because a lot of times people see things that are wrong, and they go, you know, they get this hope that, oh, it's all in the plan, it's in Revelations, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But if you look back at the ancient Sumerians, they'll tell you like where we came from. And it isn't like, you know, it's not a huggy-feely nice story in some ways because it's sort of like Copernicus when he told the Pope, hey, I found out the Earth is not the center of the universe and the Earth is revolving around its sun and there's other planets revolving around the sun and the solar system is like traveling in the Milky Way and we're just a dot, not even a dot, and that's it. And the Pope's like, you're a heretic. And you know what happened to him, right? They really screwed him up bad, right? And the Catholic Church did apologize for it like freaking centuries later, like just recently. And you know, you might think the Sumerians are just, this could be a Sumerian reefer for all I know. This thing, look at the hieroglyphics on it. I mean, the Sumerians could be all full of it too. I don't know. But I kind of looked at it from other angles. I said, I think they're accurate. I looked at this years ago. But, you know, I brought it up to some people more recently, and I was like thinking, you know, people are too religious. I'm like, you better sit back and, like, look at things a little different sometimes, you know? But I don't think that, you know, people need to not get too far down this religious trail. And not to say that you shouldn't be religious at all, but I'm saying is, you don't want to use that as something whereby you don't do anything to fix something. You see what I'm saying? Right? Because if everybody freaking didn't cooperate with all the crap that's going on that's wrong today, it would go away. You know, this quote-unquote deep state, Darth Vader and all that garbage, it would go away. But people are too busy, like this hot blonde with her bottle, drinking down, oh, I just can't cope with it anymore. You know, that's what happens, right? So anyway, I'll take it down in the deep underground shelter with me, that's for sure. But, you know, the deal is, you know, I think that Trump is going to, he's got a lot of enemies, man. I mean, a load of enemies. And I am convinced now he's legit. What was bugging me was why he was so buddy-buddy with Bill Clinton. But then I figured it out. They had one thing in common. Chasing a young woman. I mean, I don't want to say much more than that because Trump is not 110% squeaky clean, but he is 110% squeaky clean in comparison to other people by far. So anyway, and he is against George Soros, and you know, George Soros is also an enemy of Israel. Israel and Netanyahu says he's our enemy. So, there's one thing like, there's an old expression, I don't know if maybe it's not really old, but the Trotskys start the revolutions in the trouble, and they cause the problem for all the Bronsteins. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They pay the price. The Bronsteins pay the price. So, I'm telling you something there, Blakely, that, because I know how it is on YouTube. I mean, some people just automatically think, I personally lean pretty Jewish. I do. I really do. But not 110%. I got my Christmas lights out. I mean, I don't care. I got a Christmas tree. So, I mean, it's not necessarily Jewish teaching there, but whatever. I just like it. Anyway, but anyway, everything's going to be okay. And eventually, though, but everything's going to be okay if you, try to make it okay. That's really what the hell I'm saying here with this, kind of religion stuff, too. But I do think that, do expect that there's going to be a major downturn in the markets. I mean, it's already happening. I've been expecting this for a while. I thought they were going to hammer the crap out of Trump already, as soon as he got in office, practically, with the markets. But it looks like now they're really doing it. They're raising interest rates and stuff. And they'll if he doesn't get elected, I mean, it's over with, man. I mean, as far as, if you get like Hillary Clinton in there type, maybe not her, but somebody like her, there's so much power in that one office of the presidency. It's done. It's done. I mean, as far as the government goes, I mean, don't put your faith in that. Don't put your faith that the Marine Corps is going to fix everything, too. I mean, it's another thing. When you hear these pastors out there, wow, the Marines are going to arrest all the bad people because Trump said so. And I was like, yeah, no, they're not. No, they're not. But everything's going to be okay as long as you keep a cool head, common sense, and you see the reality of the situation. Don't delude yourself, by not doing anything, or, I know maybe people want to get pissed off at me for saying this, but don't think some guy from the sky is going to come down and fix everything. If he does, that's great. I love that. I hope that would happen, but I'm not putting all my bets on that, That's sort of like jumping out of a plane and not with a parachute saying, I'm going to be saved. Yeah, I mean, if I got a parachute, I'm taking a parachute and I'm making sure that damn thing works. So, if you put your feet in reality and you try to make it right, it should be okay. Well, that's at least your best chance. But I don't, the United States and the world has been through a lot worse crap than what's going on today. I know there's a lot of drama going on. And all these bad things that are going on today, they've been going on since thousands of years. It's how it's been. So anyway, over and out. Just make sure you stay rebel and ride hard and ride free. Later.